Hey there, it's Tracy here with another unboxing video for the July 2025 Crafty Crew Kit from Crafty Stamp Co. Don't forget, you need to order by June 15th to get your July kit. So we're super excited about this little animal and camping themed set. So let's go ahead and jump in. So here we are with our lovely little tissue wrapped kit, the ones I always love. This is the July 2025 Crafty Crew Club Kit from Crafty Stamp Co. So I'm just trying to carefully to get this little wrapper off because you know I like to save that. And here's our little thank you card. And just friends, just for a heads up, you can also use that for a fake gift card when you're making a gift card holder and you might not have one. It's just the right size. And then there's, of course, this little note that they send inside. And this time, there's this really cool little shaker mix, all kind of camping related, to make like little s'mores and little marshmallow guys and just lots of fun little goodies in there. And then we've got, of course, the 2 stamp sets. So the first stamp set is all these adorable little critters. Are they not so cute? Let me get that tamped down a little so I can show you a little rabbit. We've got a little bear, a little campfire, little s'more campers means s'more fun, little camping sign. What happens around the campfire gets laughed at all year. Little deer and its hot dogs. And then we've got Meadow and all her camping gear. So that's a fun one. It's a nice big stamp. So she's got some marshmallows. She's got a backpack, a bedroll. She's got a marshmallow on a stick, flashlight, a teapot, a lantern, a cup of coffee, of course. And let's wonder where the Wi-Fi won't go. And I love you, s'more. And stars make the best night lights. I love that one. It's probably my favorite. And then we've got of course, the paper, the 24 papers, but I'm trying to get things pulled out of here. They've got them packed in there so lovely. And then we've got the stars background stencil, which I love. And then the papers, and it all comes packed in that nice little zipper pouch, and then the paper comes in its own little pouch, which I love. So let's go ahead and pull the papers out and have a closer look at them. So these are all camping related. There are 24 double-sided pieces of cardstock, and it's nice heavy cardstock. So we've got our tents and our trees with our little campfires. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's too many, but I see there's a difference here. So these ones have the little campfires, and these ones just have moons and stars, which are very cool. So that's the difference. Otherwise, I thought they were the same. And then little polka dots on the back. And then we've got our little trees with our moon and stars and campfires and our backpacks and bedrolls. Everything you need for camping. And then just a pattern on the back. And then we've got, of course, the plaid. And then on the back side, a nice coordinating cardstock with the little red flashlights and little red coffee mugs. I love that. And little axes. That's funny. So these two right here coordinate very well as well with little backpacks. And then we've got trees and signs. So different kinds of trees. And then here we've got everything you need for dinner, a cup of coffee and a hot dog. And on the back side, we've got another pattern that coordinates. So beautiful papers. And we'll go ahead and put together a card. So let's get these, and this is how I store them, and then I store any scraps right within that, and it's very, very handy. And I'm going to do the little critters. And look at this little bear. He's so cute. At first, I think I'm going to use him, but I decide I'm not going to. I decide I'm going to have all the little animals around a campfire. So I've got these all stamped out, and I'm going to fussy cut and color these off camera. Are they so cute? I don't think I have any critters like this, so I'm super excited to have them. So yes, friends, I said fussy cut, and here they are already. And I have to show you that fox right there, I thought was a raccoon, and I kept wondering, why didn't they put the place for the mask, and then I realized it was a fox. So I kept him anyway. He's not going on the card, but I wanted to show you how crazy my brain works sometimes. So I was trying to make my own little raccoon shapes. So I'm going to take a piece of cardstock here, and this is just a smooth cardstock. I think it's Simon Hurley Stark White, and I think I'm going to cut it down to 3 inches by 4 1/4. And this is where I'm going to build my scene. So I'm just kind of auditioning where things need to go, because I'm going to do grass at the bottom. And I'm going to take a green ink here. This is the Simon Hurley ink, and I'm going to take a stencil brush. I like doing these this way sometimes because it does make it darker at the bottom, and it just kind of gives it almost a little border. And I just swipe upward. And then I want to go just a little bit higher on the sides. And then I'm just tamping in just to kind of get some texture and differences in the grass, so that you could imagine, you know, what it might be. And then our campfire is going to sit there. And since I have that there, I'm going to go ahead and add just a little glow, so that the campfire, you know, appears to be glowing. It's not just sitting there doing nothing. I'm going to tap this off, and then I'm just going to make a little bit of a glow, and then just kind of spread it side to side. Just make sure I kind of get it, you know, in a good placement. And then I'll just kind of blend it down into that grass, which is fine because it's yellow and blue. Okay, and now we need to make our sky. And so for the sky, I'm going to use this Midnight Snack, very dark color. And these new Stellar ink pads are fabulous for this application, because they're on foam, and so you get a lot of ink on your brush. And I'm doing basically the same motion, just kind of going from the bottom and then swiping up until I get into that yellow, and then just kind of letting it fade off. And then blending out, and I want it dark, you know, the darkest towards the top. So I'll just keep blending that in and adding more ink until I've got kind of a sky going here. I do love how this card turned out as far as the colors go. And listen, your lines don't have to be even. They don't have to be perfect. This is great just the way it is. It almost looks like there might be some auroras going on behind them. So, of course, you know, you have your own way of ink blending. That's just my way. And I'm letting that dry thoroughly, and then I'm going to pull out the stencil. And I'm going to be stenciling my stars on with white ink. So this ink doesn't take very long to dry, so I'm going to lay my stencil on my sticky mat and just where I want my stars to be. And then I'm going to grab just a kind of mask off down here, just, you know, so I don't go too far over, just with a little piece of mint tape. And then I'm going to grab a white ink, and what's happening over here to the side is I've dropped half my inks on the floor trying to grab the right white ink. And I'm sorry, friends, this ink is not available anymore. This was an old Maker Forte, but use whatever white ink you happen to have. And I've got a little white brush here I'd use only for white ink. And I'm just going over the stars with the small, soft brush. And I'll do 2 coats. So I'll do the first coat, because you don't want to go too heavy on the first coat or it'll get gummy around the edges. And I hope you know what I mean when I say that. Like, it gets too wet around the edges and it looks funky. So I let that dry completely. Then I come back, and it's, you know, maybe 5 minutes or so. And then I'll tap in the second coat. And I both tap and rub. I want to make sure I'm getting plenty of ink on there so we have nice bright stars. I love this stencil. It's also going in my favorite pile. I think all of the Crafty Crew stencils that I've gotten are in my favorites pile. They're just great. Okay, let's peel and reveal here. Look at that. Perfect. Okay, now we're ready to put this card together. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a pattern paper here, because I do want to include the pattern paper so you can see everything. And I'm just trying to decide which paper I want to use Do I want to use that one? No. This is my thinking process, friends. This is how my brain rolls. I don't want any red. I think I want this one. So I'm going to trim that down to 4 by 5 1/4, making sure that I'm in landscape orientation. And I'm going to lay this page over the top of it and see how I feel about it. And I feel like this needs to be dulled down a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some of my cookie dough ink, and that's what I'll typically use, just to get it a little bit more of a rustic feel. And I'll just go over the whole thing with the cookie dough ink. And in hindsight, I didn't really need to go over the middle, but just couldn't help it. And so it doesn't take away anything from the paper, but it does just darken it down a little bit to kind of reflect the dark nighttime scene that we're working with. So never be afraid to alter your pattern paper. So yeah, now I like that a lot better. So I'm just going to glue this piece right smack down in the middle of the pattern paper piece. And I get it a little bit off, but it's you can't really tell, and I don't notice it until it's already dry. So that's that. That happens to us as card makers. And then I think I'm going to go with a craft card base, just to kind of keep it in that rustic woodsy feel. And I'll go ahead and glue that down to the card base, getting it all the sides even all the way around best I can. And then I'll start putting on my little elements. So I'm going to start with the campfire, and I'm going to pop my campfire up a little bit. I don't pop everything up because it's not necessary. What I'm trying to accomplish here is the feeling of depth of where things are in space. Trim that one down a little bit. It's a little bit too long. This one I'll just hand trim. I always worry about my fingers when I hand trim that close because it happens. I have accidentally snipped into my fingers before. So I'm going to lay my fire down right in the middle, and then I'm going to kind of decide where I want my animals to be. So they're all kind of gathered around the campfire, having dinner, having fun. I think I'll put rabbit back there, and I'll put little deer back here. Oh my goodness, how cute are these? Okay, so I'm going to commit, and the farthest ones back, I realize they're sitting in the sun or the light, but that's okay because you're not going to really see that. And I'm going to glue them flat down, and then I'm going to give a little bit of dimension to this little fox with these tiny little squares. And these things are a nightmare, friends. Yeah. They like to come apart more than one. And it's kind of hard to get the backers off because they're so small, and I have such huge fingers. But they are great little... They're good for what they're for, but yeah, I just struggle with it. And all the little teeny tiny pieces of backer just takes forever. But I digress. We're going to do it anyway. Get all these backers taken off. And I could have cut this out, but, I want you to see that sometimes the struggle is real. Then I'm going to take my tweezers to help me place him, and I just kind of want to cover little deer's feet so you can't tell that he's standing there on nothing. And then I'm going to do the same with the little hedgehog. Or maybe that's not a hedgehog. Maybe it's a porcupine. I don't know. Either way, he's adorable. So I didn't put as many on in this one. That one rolled on me. Okay. And I don't keep long nails, so sometimes I don't have enough nails to even pick those backers off. I'm trying to decide where I'm going to put him, and then I'll commit, and he's down. Now, I'll see, there's my little raccoon. I'm crazy. Let's make sure everything's nice and down here, and now I'll do a sentiment. And I've done the sentiment off camera, and what happens around the campfire gets laughed at all year. And I'm just going to pop that up on some foam tape. And all I did was I did ink pad to paper on that, and then white heat embossed it so that it kind of blends in with the background stars instead of standing out. Could have done it directly on the background, but that, that of course is hindsight. We all know what that is, huh? Okay, lift this over, decide where I'm going to put it. Yes, perfect. So the card, is definitely kind of colorful, but in a kind of more of a camping way. So I'll just use some liquid glue to glue this down. And that'll finish our card. I'm not going to use any of the embellishments. You'll see me using those on a shaker in a later video. Okay, that's that. There's our card, friends. Our little camping animals having fun in the campground. And nothing inside. I didn't, do any sentiments or anything inside, but you can. That's it. I hope you like this video. If you do, please leave me a thumbs up. Thanks for stopping by. Take care. Bye-bye.